Okay, all right. A very good morning to Dr. Ramiza. So we are from Group 20. Today we would like to talk about Windows and Linux, which is from course BCN2053 operating system. And let's welcome our first presenter.
My name is JIAN, CD19068. A brief about the evolution of North OS. 1985 Windows 1 its first release. 1987 Windows 2. Control panel introduced. Windows can overlap each other. 1990 Windows 3 require hard drive to run MS-DOS program. 1992 Windows 3.1 TrueType phone introduced. 1995 Windows 95 button start launch. 1998 Windows 98 IE4 Outlook Express network show player built window driver introduced. 2000 Windows ME automated system recovery tools. 2000 based on Microsoft business oriented system Windows NT. 2001 Windows XP start menu and taskbar got reset overhaul. 2007 Windows Vista, more focused on transparent elements. 2009 Windows 7, solve problem that faced by Windows Vista. 2012 Windows 8, faster than previous version. 2013 Windows 8.1, new visual interface. 2014 Windows 10. 2005 Ubuntu 5.04 and 5.10 update manager update notifier. 2006 Ubuntu 6.6 6.06 6.10 the live CD and install CD merged onto one disk. 2007 Ubuntu 7.04 7.10 Linux experience. 2008 Ubuntu 8.04 8.10 Brasero disk burner and transmission BitTorrent. 2009 Ubuntu 9.04 9.10 make it easier for anyone to contribute to free. 2010 Ubuntu 10.04 Ubuntu 10.10 routing was leaked for the first time. 2011 Ubuntu 11.04 11.10 Unity shell for a fewer among its user base. 2012 Ubuntu 12.04 12.10 additional video length to let you play videos. 2013 Ubuntu 13.04 13.10 new shutdown menu and core app icons were a glass apart. 2014 Ubuntu 14.04 14.10 the ability to turn off the global menu. 2015 Ubuntu 15.04 15.10 improvement to Intel hardware and AMD Radeon graphics performance. Okay, let's welcome our next presenter.
All right, my name is Yeow and CD19082, and I would like to talk about memory management. So first, since the beginning of computer operation, there have been need for more memory than the existing physical memory in a computer, which is virtual memory. First, for Windows 10, Windows 10 just as a movie ticket served as a controlling agent between the demand and the 6-inch threader. So the operating system will provide a virtual memory to all processors which run on physical memory. The address space of physical memory depends on amount of RAM installed. So if physical memory is sufficiently large to accommodate all processors, then the committed virtual address space is met. If it is less than the combined memory demand of all processors, then the virtual memory manager will have to load each process sequentially. So this is a diagram. So next, for the virtual memory manager of the operating system, use spatial paging technique, which is disk paging and demand paging. Only the threads corresponding to a specific task are loaded to memory which is required for immediate processing. And this is also a diagram, example diagram. So the virtual memory concept was redefined so that processors run on the operating system and the operating system provide a virtual memory to all processors. And this is also an example diagram. So next, talk about Linux. Linux-based operating system virtual memory is known as swap. And then when Linux use system RAM, it creates a virtual memory layer to then assign processors to virtual memory. Okay, next, Ubuntu also use demand paging to loading virtual page into physical memory. So it generates page fault, and Linux use the process memory map to determine which part of image to bring into memory for execution. So this is also an example diagram. So next, talk about 64-bit or 32-bit architecture for both operating systems. So for the 32-bit Windows, there's addressable memory space is shared between active application and the kernel. And this is a diagram. And next, for 64 bits, there's addressable memory space is shared between active application and the kernel. And this is also a diagram for 64 bits Windows. So for the Linux, is a user of modern PC are better off with the 64-bit edition, because for 64-bit processors can run 64-bit software, which allow them to use larger amount of RAM. So for 64 bits of Ubuntu, the system will have the ability to assign more memory to individual processors. So this is also an example diagram. So if we compare both operating systems, Linux runs faster than Windows operating system with a modern desktop environment. So because Linux is very lightweight while Windows is fatty, and the file system of Linux is very much organized. So Windows is dumpster and file are present all over the place. So that's all for me. Thank you.
All right, I'm BHAATAN, CD19070. I'm going to talk about process management. Process contains its own independent virtual address space, creating and managing processes. Windows 10, every process contains one or more threads, and the threads is basic executable units. Next. When the system of Windows 10 comes to multiple processes, the process has as many threads as CPUs available. First of all, the operating system of Windows 10 and Ubuntu will enable some data regarding the CPU. For instance, one way to find out how many cores to inspect the CPU topology. The operating system internal process have the sole responsibility of policing all other threads. The operating system matches the thread to one of the core through the multitasking method. Normal usage. Most applications are tolerated to written for Windows. You will find some Linux compatible versions, but the only popular softwares. Despite it, these alternatives are more likely to be amateur efforts compared to Windows. Server usage. For Linux, open source nature is a big part of it. Also, you have access to large amount of free tools. Ubuntu is a place where you can feel a place with no restrictions to anything you do. Ubuntu has a great performance, surpasses Windows 10. Windows use third-party tools like PuTTY to connect and interact with Ubuntu-based servers. This is not so easy to use in one's opinion. Next, I'm going to talk about file management. For Windows, files are stored in files under the different data, drive C or drive D. Linux are ordered in tree structure starting with roots directory. This is a diagram. The type of file in Linux, everything is a file. It's like a directory file. Explain how both OS handles the naming convention. The type of file in Linux is called a directory file, or like as printer, mouse, and keyboard, etc. The directory files are warehouse for other file types. Explain how OS handles system-related files. We use a period to separate the base name from the extension of the name directory or file. Windows uses a backslash required as a part of volume name, for example, drive C, path, file. Do not end a file or directory name with a space or a period, although the underlying file system may support such name. Next presenter.
Hello, I'm the JIAN CD19078. I'm doing about the security management. Focus on how both operating systems handle their security management, focusing on the user and password authentication and management. Windows 10 incorporate multi-factor authentication technology based upon standard developed by FIDO Alliance. Ubuntu, the initial user create by the Ubuntu installer is a member of the group sudo, which is known as a sudo user. In fact, system administrative duty is handled by the two sudo. Sudo allow an authorized user to temporarily evaluate their privilege using their own password. For securing kernel from unauthorized access, Windows 10 implemented two different modes, which is known as the user mode and kernel mode. For kernel mode, driver is not isolated from other driver and the operating system itself. For user mode, each application runs in isolation. Due to the protection afforded by this sort of isolation, the crash is limited to that one application and is always recoverable. Ubuntu. Every Linux distribution needs to make a compromise between functionality, performance, and security. And while the Ubuntu has secure default, it still needs turning to the type of usage. So Ubuntu desktop and server need to be configured to improve the security defense to an optimal level. And now explain how both operating systems handle an attempt to hack your system from the internet. In your explanation, please include the related third-party hardware, software if needed, and the mechanism of preventing. For the Windows 10, to prevent its own system from being hacked, Windows 10 comes with a built-in software which is known as Windows Defender Antivirus. The automatic scan program when you download new definition from Windows Update and provide an interface you can use for in-depth scan. For Ubuntu, the most way Linux distribution are built make it very hard for virus, Trojan, or backdoors to take advantage of vulnerability in binary package. Ubuntu change every 6 months and update every week. It makes it very difficult for a virus author to track all these change. In contrast, Windows takes several years to change. That gives some time to the virus author to try to be as destructive and evasive as they can. And this is an example of third-party software. The Malwarebytes is for the Windows 10, and the Sophos is for the Ubuntu Linux one. Next presenter.
So in conclusion, the advantage bring by Windows is including ease of use, available software, and backwards compatibility. For the advantage of Ubuntu is free, completely customizable, better suited for development and open source. Windows and Ubuntu really bring a lot of advantage than disadvantage for us. We need to use them wisely. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
This is the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.